your life.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, friends. It's indeed a great pleasure as well as an honor to be back here. At the very outset, I must apologize to you that I could not meet you on Facebook Live as I did earlier. I could also not conduct my vlogs because I was not well and I had to go through a medical surgery, and now I'm out of all the trouble and on the way to recovery, and I thought I must be back with you. I would like to start by thanking all of you, those who have been asking me as to why am I not coming on Facebook Live. Well, friends, I'm back here, and in fact today we are going to talk about a very important subject. Let me make some preliminary comments. Yesterday the Reserve Bank's annual report has come out, and after the annual report of the Reserve Bank of India came out, the whole media. I'm back again. Yesterday the Reserve Bank of India's report came out, and that report, after the report came out, from that point onwards, from yesterday, the entire media, print media as well as electronic media, has been full of stories about demonetization and talking about how demonetization has been a great failure, and so on and so forth. I want to talk about that subject, and contrary to the view taken by everybody or a very large number of people, I want to explain to you an economist's perspective on what exactly is happening, because a lot of times, issues get politically motivated and statements are made purely based on political considerations. I do not want to go into politics of anything. I'm an economist, and as an economic thinker, I would like to explain my understanding of the situation. First of all, I want you to understand that what has happened is that what has the RBI's report pointed out? RBI's report has pointed out that on 8th November 2016, that is about 10 months ago, when the historic decision of demonetization was taken, demonetization of 500 rupee notes and 1000 rupee notes was taken on November 8, 2016. After the decision was taken, at that time, in one stroke, 86% of the currency was declared invalid. It was demonetized. 86% of the total currency. Then in absolute terms, it was 15.44 lakh crore. 15.44 lakh crore rupees of currency was demonetized. And what has happened, according to the RBI report that has just been released, is that out of that 15.44 lakh crore of currency, almost 99%, that is 15.28 lakh crore of currency has come back to the banking system. Now, this is seen as a big failure, that 99% of the currency has come back to the banking system. So where is the black money? That means everything has become white, and this is seen as a failure. And many political parties are saying that this is a failure, a grand failure, and they have in fact demanded apologies from the Prime Minister. Well, not quite. One has to understand, what does it mean? What does it mean? It is a fact that 99% of the currency which was demonetized has come back to the banking system. But does that mean by itself a failure of demonetization? My answer is not at all. Let me explain why. What does it mean? What does it imply? That 99% of the currency which was demonetized has come back to the banking system. What does that mean? It means two things as far as I'm concerned. If you remember, after the shock of demonetization, a lot of people, and I'm sure you must have seen and heard stories, there was something called cash coolies. Cash coolies. The government had allowed every taxpayer to pay up to 2.5 lakh rupees of currency into his account, and no questions were asked. But what unscrupulous elements did was very large number of people, those who were tax evaders, what they did was they caught hold of small people, driver, cook, and servants, all kinds of people. They caught hold of a lot of people and requested them to deposit money, cash in their account, taking advantage of that 2.5 lakh rupees which was allowed without asking question. So for a flat fee, a commission, if you have, large number of people allowed themselves to be used as cash coolies, and they deposited the money in their account with the understanding that in course of time the money would be withdrawn and 20% or 30% would be retained by them as their professional fees. So this was the arrangement. As you are aware, we Indians are known in the world for circumventing any kind of difficult situation and finding a way around. So this was one way around that was found, and a very large number of people, tax evaders, unscrupulous, elements, they tried to, they deposited the money. So what it means, 99% money coming back in the system, to my mind, it means that unfortunately, this coolie system, the cash coolie system, has worked and the entire money has come back into the system. That is one implication. Second implication, what does it mean to have 99% of the currency coming back? The black money or the cash, it was hidden. Earlier, very large amount of cash held as a cash. Black money is not necessarily held in cash alone. It can be held in diamonds, gold, diamonds, land, and so on. But large part is also was held in terms of cash, currency, in the raw form. And in many places, it was hidden in the mattresses. It was hidden in toilet boxes. It was hidden underground, and so on. All kinds of ways were done. So at that time, government did not know the address of black money. Now that the black money is back into the system, now for the first time, government knows the address of the black money. And this is not a negative thing, this is a positive achievement. So the fact that 99% of the currency has come back does not mean failure of the national, or failure of demonetization. In fact, it is already helping in a very big way. The government now knows the address of the black money, and that is very, very important. So the question that is coming out is that what is the extent of black money? Unfortunately, that will take some time to decide what would be the extent of black money, because thousands or lakhs of people who have disproportionately large amount of money in their accounts credited after 8th of November 2016, they are all being scrutinized. They are all being scrutinized, and it will, the process is lengthy of course, but it will finally be able to tell us how much part of, a driver cannot have 3 crore rupees in his or her account, right? Or a cook cannot have 5 crores in his account. So if it is there, that is going to cause a lot of investigation, and that is currently on. In thousands of cases, the investigation is on, and when that investigation is over, unfortunately, only then we would be able to tell how much is the total black money that has been uncovered in this process of demonetization. So those were my initial remarks, and I'm ready for all your questions. So please start shooting your questions. The first question that I would like to take is a question from Chetan Saure. He says, do you think demonetization helped fake currency out of India? Partly, yes. In fact, what is happening is that, I'll go back to that, yeah. What is happening is that I was looking at other questions also, but I'll start with Chetan's question, whether demonetization has helped fake currency out of India. Fake currency cannot completely go out of India. It is a chore police kind of game. What was happening in India, and it's still happening, is that, in our friendly neighboring country, and you know which country I'm talking about, fake currency has been printed and it comes to India through Bangladesh and through Nepal and many other routes, and part of that has been going for financing terrorism. The total amount may not be large, but it's very important because it is going to finance the terrorist activities in our country. So we made a hit. And fake currency was there was a big hit on fake currency. However, this is a surgical strike on the fake currency. It is not enough because, as I said earlier, there is a chore police kind of game that goes on. The fake currency creators, police or the authorities have to be 2 steps ahead of the fake currency creators. Because what happens is that technology, unfortunately, here is so advanced that replicating any currency with the security features is not very difficult. That's why we have to keep changing the currency notes. So a lot of new features were added, dimensions were changed. Instead of 500 we had and 1,000 rupee note, we came back with new 500 currency note and new 2,000 rupee note. The size was changed, the currency feature. Yeah, I'm sorry for the dislocation. The data which has been released by RBI, the annual report shows that in the latest year, 2016-17 financial year, fake currency notes of 1,000 rupees increased by as much as 79%. So there was a big hit on the fake currency. The RBI report also says that the new currency has also to some extent has been replicated. Now this is the problem that we are constantly facing. So fake currency cannot be destroyed altogether, but to do that, what we need to do is to keep on changing the size and denominations of currency notes and their security features and make it more and more difficult. Now this is where it is a chore police game. What in economics we call it regulatory dialectic, in the sense that the authorities have to be 1 step or 2 steps ahead of those who are trying to copy them. So there is no cause for complacency, there is no comfort. We have to constantly keep on doing that, and we want to minimize the occurrence of fake currency. In our country, there was a big debate. If you remember, around the 8th November, there was a big debate, and Mr. Chidambaram, the Honorable former Finance Minister, had said that what is the big deal about fake currency? The total fake currency in our country at that time, the estimate was 400 crore. So he said, for 400 crore rupees of currency, why should we denotify 15 lakh and 44,000 15 lakh crore worth of currency? It looks very reasonable, but look at it this way: how many deaths are there because of terrorism? Only 35,000. So what is the proportion of this 35,000 to the total population? It is incredibly small. Does that mean that problem can be ignored? No, it cannot be. So this problem cannot be ignored. Fake currency proportion to the total currency may be very small, but like the deaths on account of the terrorism as a ratio of the total population is also very small, but that does not mean it can be ignored. For the sovereignty of our nation, we have to take care of terrorism and terrorism financing, and that is why we need to constantly go on hitting the fake currency, and that is what demonetization did. And to that extent, we have succeeded. Chandrakant Kamble is saying, Navin notanचा खर्च आणि लोकांना झालेला त्रास. It is absolutely true that there was certain amount of expenditure and the numbers differ, but it seems that the increase that the RBI had to do in the increase in the expenditure for printing the new notes was about a little less than 5,000 crore. Chidambaram is saying 21,000 crore. That's not true. It is about 4,544 crore according to the RBI report. The cost of printing notes increased by less than 5,000 crore in the year 16-17. That is a fact. However, when you look at demonetization or issues like that, you don't see the cost of, the profit or losses to the government. No, or to the RBI. That's not the issue. It's the effect on the economy. What I would like to say is that you asked me, Lokana Dhalila Tras. I completely agree that a lot of people were subject to a lot of hardships, and there were some deaths also that occurred. It is extremely unfortunate, and there is no doubt about that. However, this is something which is a short-term pain and a long-term gain. What has happened is that, fortunately, now the short-term, we have endured that pain very well. You know, unlike any other country in the world, we have really stuck together and we have endured the hardships which were caused by demonetization. Fortunately now, the bad part, the hard part is now over, and we are looking forward to all the positive effects, and the positive effects have started becoming visible. That is what I would like to say, that the short-term pain and long-term gain. Short-term pain was severe and one regrets that. However, now the short-term pain is over and the long-term gain has started coming. And in the course of this discussion, I'm going to tell you what are the positive things which are already happening. There is another question. Another question that I would like to take is that, sir, what do you want to say about Dr. Manmohan Singh's statement? Dr. Manmohan Singh has been my guru, and I certainly would like to comment on that statement. I have greatest regard for him. However, let me add very frankly that although he is my guru and my mentor for a very long time, the statement that he made was not a statement that was made by an economist in him. Statement that he made, regrettably, appears to me as a statement made by a politician. And the words that were used there, you know, I know him for the last, 30 years? Those were not his words. Certainly not the words that I am used to hearing or seeing by Dr. Manmohan Singh. So it was more of a political statement rather than an economic statement. Then Bharat Kumar has said, sir, you tried to bring a bill to remove caste name as a surname. No, we will talk about that in another issue, but this is a very, very important issue, and I'll come back to that when the subject is warranted. Yugandhara Parse has said, fake currency is still circulating, sir. I think the move wasn't enough to hit it. As I mentioned, Yugandhara, by the way, you have a beautiful name. Yugandhara, basically, what I am saying is that this is a constant process. We made a big hit on the fake currency, but there is no room for complacency. We have to go on hitting the fake currency, and there is no clear solution. You cannot solve the problem by hitting it only once. There was a question by Sandeep Nagarare. What about expenditure for printing new currency note? I spoke about that. Baba Saheb Satalkar said that is a big ghotala. I don't know what big ghotala you are talking about. Why the government changing goalpost over the issue? Yugandhara has asked this question. There is no change in the goalpost at all. This is the argument made by some of the people, that there is a change in the goalpost. I don't think so. Yesterday, one of the channels gave the statement by Narendra Modi, gave a statement by Arun Jaitley, and said that they had not said this, but now later on they started talking about it. No, you know, in one statement, they could not have covered the entire gamut of considerations that must have gone into the decision of demonetization. Let me talk about what were the objectives. As I see it, what were the objectives of demonetization? As far as I see, there were 5 different objectives of demonetization. First was, of course, hitting the black money. Second one was hitting the fake currency. And these two were mentioned by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Honorable Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and many other people. These two, but in addition to these two, there were 3 more objectives. Third objective was moving towards less cash economy, not cashless economy. You know, some politicians are very clever. They're mixing the words. We never wanted to move towards cashless economy. We were talking about moving towards less cash economy. India is one of the few countries in the world where ratio of currency to the GDP is one of the highest, and we wanted to bring it down from something like 12% plus to about 7 to 8%, and that was a very, very reasonable objective, and to some extent we have actually succeeded in doing that. So that was the third objective. Fourth objective was to move towards digital transactions. Again, there we have a very reasonable, notable success and transparency that comes with that. The fifth objective was to migrate towards integration of the formal and informal system in our country. You know, with the parallel economy that we had a regular economy, and then we have had a parallel economy where the cash transactions take place, where taxes are not paid, black money gets accumulated and absorbed. So we have had this formal sector and informal sector. Fifth objective was to integrate the formal sector, integrate the informal sector with the formal sector. So if 99% of the cash which was lying out has come back into the system, that means that there is a perfect coordination and perfect assimilation, perfect integration of the informal sector with the formal sector of the economy, with the formal sector coming and expanding to incorporate informal sector. It means transparency, it means accountability, it means widening tax base, it means greater tax revenue, and that advantage can be passed on to people. And that is what is happening right now. So actually the worst is over, and we are looking forward to more positive gains in future. Nitesh Avhare says today's news channel says GDP is going down from 7 to around 5.5. Yes, if you remember, you can go back to my Facebook or Twitter and see my earlier Facebook live chat. I had myself predicted that the growth rate will, in the first 6 months to 1 year, it will come down by about 1 percentage point. Maximum decline would be half to 1 percentage point. But this is the transitional one. After that, the economy will bounce back with the wider tax base, and there would be a lot of impetus to growth. For example, I had also predicted that while initially the growth rate would go down, there's so much of liquidity in the system would enable the Reserve Bank of India and the government to lower the interest rate. That would give a fillip to economic growth after a little while, and that period has started. If you see the RBI's own report, RBI's report released yesterday says that the growth rate, which was at the low of 6.1% in the first quarter of this year, is going to go up and is going to be around 7% in the near future. So we are talking about next few months. So the worst, it is in that sense that I'm saying the worst is over, and we can expect good things to happen in the near future. Santosh Bhimrao Karmarkar says, bank transaction tax, is it practical? Yes, it is very much practical, and that has been implemented. Earlier, for withdrawing cash, etc., there was hardly any charges made, and now they have put charges. I think this is a move in the right direction, although a lot of people don't like it. This is a move in the right direction, and we need to do that, and that is what is being done. Advocate Nagesh Chandrakant Zaibhai says, respected sir, you are all-time inspiration of mine. Thank you, Advocate Nagesh. Thank you for the compliment. And I will move on to the next question. Ajit Pandurang Malunskar said, सर सर्व सामान्य माणसाच्या जीवनात काय सकारात्मक बदल होतील या नोटबंदीने? The ordinary people, this is one reform which touched the lives of everybody from top to bottom, everybody. What will happen is that in the near future, and it's already happening, economic growth is going to pick up. It will create more jobs, and economic growth moving up. Inflation would be contained, economic growth would be more, and it would definitely be, I would not hesitate to say that if all goes well, although the world economy is not exactly in a very good shape, and not in the atmosphere outside is not very conducive, still while economic growth is slowing down everywhere, including in China, our growth has started picking up, and if all goes well, in the next 3 years, we should be able to see 8% plus growth rate, which will be very good for the common man in this country. Because higher growth would also mean more expenditure on social sector. We need to spend more on education. We need to spend more on health sector. You know, one of this education and health, these are critical sectors in our economy for the common man, and these are relatively ignored because there are not enough funds available. That's what the government is saying. With the tax base widening, fiscal deficit contained, and government revenue going up, one would expect social sectors like education and health to get a lot more money than what they are getting now, and that would certainly be helpful to the common man in this country. Sir, Satish Kumar Magre is asking, Sir, किती काळा पैसा बाहेर निघाला या नोटबंदीचा काही फायदा झाला का? Notebandi, you know, there have been many advantages of, many benefits of Notebandi. I have spoken about that. How much black money is going to come out, has come out, it's not clear as yet, because as I mentioned earlier, you were probably not there when I said that now, earlier we did not know the address of the black money. Now we know the address of the black money, and investigations are on in a very large number of bank accounts where disproportionately large amount of cash has been created after 8th of November 2016. Those are under investigation, and when those investigations are over, of several 100,000 accounts, when those investigations are over, we will know for sure how much is the black money which has been unraveled. Ajit Patil is saying, Sir, what is the outcome? I have already spoken about that. Sandesh Yadav, 99% currency collected, but what about fake currency? Fake currency has been destroyed, or it was hit in a big way, but as I said before, it's a continuous process, and we cannot rest on our past laurels. We have to keep hitting the fake currency, because ultimately it is going to spell a disaster for us, because fake currency is the one, a large part of fake currency goes to finance the terrorist activities in our country, and we want to hit the terrorism and terrorist activities. We have to continue to hit the black money and the fake currency. Akshay Asha Bhagwat Bhosle, are Dalal I can't no, I can't read your question. Santosh Bhimrao says BTT, bank transaction tax, is it practical? I have talked about that already. Then Sandeep Nagrale, how the government is going to compensate small businessmen for their loss during demonetization and jobs lost by workmen during this period. I completely sympathize with this question. Yes, it is true that small businessmen were hurt. Yes, it is true that jobs were lost during the initial period, but hopefully, and there is a very strong hope, that the economy is under revival, and in the revival process, the small business as well as big businesses would be more than compensated by the greater number of opportunities which would be available to them. Yeah. Yogiraj Ahire, yeah, I have already answered this question. What about the people who lost their job? Don't you think RBI lost its autonomy? This is a very touchy question. Whether RBI has lost its autonomy, you know, I spent 31 years in RBI, and I can talk about this subject. You know, RBI has never asked for, one has to make a distinction between independence from the government and independence within the government. Independence from the government would mean that RBI telling the government that you manage your fiscal policy and don't worry about monetary policy, it is entirely our prerogative. That would be independence from the government. RBI has never been asking for that. What RBI has been asking all these years is independence within the government. You know, ultimately, in a democratic setup like India, the policies have to be decided by the elected representatives of people. Governor and deputy governors are not elected by the people. So it is the government which is elected by the people, and they will decide the policies. So overall macroeconomic policy would have to be decided by the elected representatives of the people. And under that broad framework, how to conduct the monetary policy, that should be prerogative of the Reserve Bank of India. That is what we have been asking for. I'm still saying we, although I'm no longer with the RBI in that sense. But important point is that that kind of freedom or independence within the broad framework is already available to the Reserve Bank of India. And for example, the latest decision taken by the RBI there's a big debate going on right now. Government has been trying to push the RBI to lower the interest rates further. RBI has gone only to a modest extent of 25 basis points. So this is a healthy debate that goes on between the central bank of any country and the finance ministry. This is not unique to India. It happens to all the democracies of the Western world and as other parts of the world as well. Naveen Kumar, Dr. Narendra Ji, he is saying, what was the motto in which Pradhan Sevak Mr. Modi begged 50 days from Indians during demonetization? Now, this is a question that I cannot answer. I think this is a question that Honorable Prime Minister only can answer. What was in his mind when he talked about 50 days? Aniket Kedar is asking, what do you think of current economic situation of world? Current economic situation of the world is not very conducive. What has happened is everywhere there is a slowdown, including in China. The American economy is doing better. After a long time, finally, American economy is looking up. But remember, the US economy doing well means their growth rate is now 3.5%, which is their long-term potential growth rate. In our case, our potential growth rate is 8%. Remember, so they are close to their potential, which is a good idea, a good thing happening. But Europe is still struggling. It has still been reeling under the European crisis that started in 2011. Japan has been in doldrums. China, which has been growing at more than 10% for more than 30 years, has slowed down in the recent past, and today it is between 6 and 7%. So growth rate is slowing down everywhere. First time last year, India's growth rate actually exceeded the growth rate of China, and that was a very positive thing. And a lot of people newspapers started saying that we have overtaken China, which is absolutely wrong. I wish that was true, because Chinese economy is 5 times larger than Indian economy. Up to 1990, we were exactly same, but they have grown so fast and so at such a rate that they have far outpaced us. In this particular year, last year, our growth rate was above 7% and their growth rate came below 7%. That is good, but not good enough. It will take a long time for India to catch up with China. I only wish that we had overtaken China. That's not a fact. However, it is true that whereas in the rest of the world, almost everywhere, economies are slowing down and the political tensions are running very high, Indian economy is looking up, and after slight slowdown in the aftermath of the demonetization, our economy is again looking up, and in the next 3 years it will go to 8% plus, and that is the hope that we should be looking at. So we can look to the future with lot of anticipation, lot of positivism that is required. Saket Deshmukh is saying there is no limit for corporate funding to parties. It seems corruption is legalized. Political parties should be coming under RTI Act. Saket, I completely agree with you. There is some move made in the recent budget speech of the Honorable Finance Minister, but yes, it is true that we need to bring political parties under the RTI Act. I could not disagree. I could not agree more with you. That is one source where a lot of black money still exists, and we need to work hard on that. And we need a major reform of the political funding of election funding, that reform is absolutely imperative, and all parties are not willing to subject themselves to RTI Act, and the reason is obvious. I think they all must, and that move is required in the interest of really stemming the black money from our system. Vipul Tidke, as of now, as India possessing a very good amount of liquidity from demonetization and recently from GST returns, how this liquidity can be utilized to make our economy more stable and achieve GDP growth rate again? You know, banks are flushed with liquidity, and that's why the interest rates could come down. However, unfortunately for us, what is happening is that there is a lot of NPAs are at unprecedented level, and the banking system is not far from being in a healthy position. But in principle, this enhanced liquidity can be utilized with the lower interest rate to give a fillip, to give a push to the Indian economy, and it is happening, and it will happen more in the months to come. Then there is Pradeep Shinde asked, नोटा छापण्यासाठी खर्च झाला पण त्या मानाने काळा पैसा बाहेर आला का? I think the amount of money that was spent for printing notes was much smaller, and much larger amount of money is going to come out as a black money, and that will come out in the next few months, I certainly hope. Rajesh Jadhav is asking, we appreciate the move of demonetization and we were hopeful about the positive impact shall come out soon. It is the same positive note that I share, that yes, it will create, it is a very positive move, and in the months to come, worst is already over. We have endured it very well, and in future, I think we are going to move only towards the positive outcome, and that is already happening. Just to give you some numbers, I want to say, very importantly, 4 or 5 things that I want to say. The volume of cash currency in our system has come down by 17%. So this goes in favor of the integration of the formal and informal sector of the economy, exactly as was intended. Second, digital transactions, proportion of digital transactions have taken a big jump, and we need to maintain that momentum. That's the second achievement. Third achievement is that the number of suspicious transactions, as were reported by banks to the Financial Intelligence Unit, that has increased in the year 2016-17. Can you imagine by how much? It has increased by 488%. So it has increased 5 times. I will give you exact number. In the last financial year, that is financial year 2015-16, the total amount of suspicious transactions reported by banks to the Financial Intelligence Unit were about 61,000, and in the latest financial year 2016-17, as reported by the Reserve Bank of India in their latest annual report, the number has shot up from 61,000 crore to 361,000 crore. That is 488% increase in the suspicious transaction. And this suspicious transaction, most of that is going to be black money, to be discovered very soon. Fourth nice thing that has happened is that fake currency notes of 1,000 rupees rose in the year 2016-17 by as much as 79%. That vindicates what we have been saying about the fake currency. And fifth one, very, very important, as the Honorable Finance Minister said, the income tax returns filed has increased by 25%, and the direct tax base has increased very substantially. Now this augurs very well, and this conforms to what I have been saying, that the bad effect we have endured, bad effect of demonetization, which were unfortunate, we have endured, and now only the good things are beginning to happen, and in the months to come, I think the positive things will gain further momentum, taking our economy to a new height in terms of the growth rate, in terms of the social expenditure on education, health, and so many other sectors, which will elevate the quality and quality of life and of the common man in our country. So this is a very positive move, and do not get fooled by the political propaganda that is made. One last point that I want to make. I promised you that I will not speak political, but I was really very sad to hear yesterday some political parties making very strong statement. In fact, one of the political party, one of the main opposition parties, their spokesperson said that Modi ji had promised that black money will be destroyed. Has that happened? No. Fake currency will be destroyed, Modi ji said. Has it happened? No. Terrorism will end, he had said. Has that happened? He said no. And therefore PM must apologize. This is extremely, typically misleading kind of set of reasoning that is made. Nobody said that black money can be destroyed at one go by just one move, however important that is. Because all the deep problems require sustained effort. One stroke, it doesn't happen. So, fake money, black money, terrorism. No, nobody said that terrorism would be destroyed. Terrorism would be affected by destroying the fake currency, and it has been affected. Do we know how much the terrorism activities would have been had we not hit the fake currency? We do not know that. So let's not be fooled by these kind of politically motivated comments. To the same person, I would like to ask a counter question. In 1969, you came to power. You know, your party came to power by promising Garibi Hatao. Did that happen in the 4 decades after that? Does that mean that that was wrong? People have given the punishment that was required. Any big change requires sustained effort, and demonetization was a very strong, positive measure taken in that direction. But to expect that that will be a magic wand which will change everything completely overnight is to expect wrong thing, and then to mislead people in saying that look, that has not happened and therefore it is a failure. Politically it may be correct, but I don't think Indian people are foolish, so foolish to believe in this kind of false propaganda. I think we are going to stop here. We have taken a lot of time. I think we have answered, I have answered most of the questions. Some questions may remain, but let those questions remain with you. The reason being that it's only when you have questions in your mind that you will seek answers. So keep asking questions and you will get the answers. Partly from me when we continue to meet more regularly in future on this Facebook Live. I want to thank all of you for some very good questions which were asked, and there are questions still coming, but I think we will take a pause here and we'll continue our dialogue in the near future. I promise you that in future I will have a more frequent interaction with you through this media and through the media of my vblog. Please, those of you who have not joined my Facebook, please do follow me on my Facebook and do follow me on Twitter. On both I'm very active, and every speech that I make in the parliament, I reproduce that on my Facebook and Twitter. The link is there. And the TV interviews, etc., everything is there. I also visit my website, which has been now updated. So let's stay in touch, and with all that, I once again thank you all for your very interesting questions, and I wish all of you all the very best. Thank you very much.